Testing. Hello, 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 hello. Can anybody hear me? Can y'all hear me? Let me go on my comments and see. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes. All right. Awesome. Awesome. I didn't hear my music, so I didn't know if my music was on, but thank you, Krista. Thank you. All right. Welcome. Welcome to another episode of The Fifth. I am your host, Dr. G, and we are live. It is Tuesday, September 23rd. I almost forgot what day it was, but it's Tuesday, September 23rd. And tonight we are going to be talking about shedding. Shedding in any kind of way that you can think of. All right. We know that animals shed, right? When they're going from one phase of their life to another phase of their life. Animals shed. Let me go back to the comments to make sure that people can hear me. Hey, Tori, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Y'all forgive me tonight. You know, I'm working on my mojo. I'm stepping up my game. You know, I got a new system in here. So I can't hear. Well, I know you can hear me since you said the mic is working, but I couldn't hear any of my music. So let's go. Let's talk about shedding, right? So why do people need to shed? Why do we need to shed? Let's not even talk about people. I'm going to put me in this conversation and say, why shedding, right? So many times, like, we go through different seasons. We go from one season to the next season of our lives. Hey, new system alert, new system alert. Tori, I'm showing off, girl. I'm showing off. But when people start shedding, you know, you're like, I'm doing everything right and things are not changing for me. You know, some people might say I'm going to church more often. Other people might say I'm waking up and I'm working out. You know, I'm meditating, I'm reading affirmations. Like, I feel like I'm doing everything right. I'm waking up on time. I'm going to work on time. I'm being mindful of the way I speak to people, the way I respond to people. I know some people that might even say, I'm even being a better person about answering phone calls or answering text messages and returning calls, right? But you're steady talking about, I'm not elevating, I'm not moving. I feel like I'm doing everything right and things just don't seem to be going my way. So, why are we in this position? So, sometimes when we're going through different seasons of our life, right? We are still holding on to those, it's not even necessary evils, but we call it necessary evils because we kind of feel like these are things that we want to hold on to. But the truth of the matter is, when you're going through these situations, right, and you're trying to elevate from one season to the next season, it is very hard to go from one season of your life to the next season of your life and still carry the same things that you're there. Oh, hold tight. I got a guest trying to jump on here with me. I can't really see him.
I'll stay off camera for a second
He's
if you're
on
okay
here
with
with
that.
audio only, but y'all welcome. Welcome to the stream. It's JD, Jonathan, Joey, for people that know him. He's on here. Um, I'm hoping, can y'all hear him? That's the next question. I'm
Yep, I
probably going to change my
appreciate it.
microphone because
Appreciate it.
I'm not hearing him.
Well, I wasn't really saying
If
anything, so
he is
I'm
talking to
here
me, can
now.
y'all hear him? Somebody let me know if y'all can hear him. If y'all can hear him and I can't, I'm going to totally switch my microphone. Can y'all hear him? Yes, y'all
It
can
might
hear
just be
him. All
me.
right. Bear with me 2 seconds. I'm going to switch my microphone because I'm not hearing him. All right. Thanks, Jay. Let me switch my mics because I can't hear him. So we could communicate. Jonathan, are you there?
Yep, I am. I am. I am.
Jonathan, you there?
Yes, I am.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Jonathan, are you
I'm
there?
still here.
All right.
It
If
might
he
be
is,
my service. Hold on.
I might be having some difficulties because, oh, you know what? Hold tight a second.
Hold on.
Ah, there he goes. Hey, can you hear me? Can you
I
hear
can.
me?
Yes.
Okay, I apologize, y'all.
Yep,
Sorry for
I
the
can.
technical difficulties. Yeah, I'm glad I can hear you. How you doing? I don't know.
Doing all
I don't know if he can, but thank you for joining. I don't know if he said something. We're just gonna keep it moving. All right, but like I was saying, a lot of times you try to move from season to season. You feel like you're going on the right trajectory of your life, right? But then still something still seems to be holding you down, right? You're feeling like I'm doing the right things, I'm going in the right direction, I'm waking up early, I'm working out, I'm eating right, and there is something that just still seems to not be going right, right? And it's just because sometimes there is something that you're still trying to hold on to that you're taking from this season to the next season. And you got to realize that from one season to the next, everything don't fit, right? It's like a puzzle. Okay, our lives are like puzzle pieces, and there are just certain things that we have to shift and get it the right way. And if we're trying to take a puzzle piece from a puzzle about nature into the puzzle piece that's a puzzle piece about the ocean, right? It's not going to fit because you're talking about, even though water is the nature, you're maybe talking about trees and animals in a forest. And this is talking about water with fish and whales. These two things are just not going to fit. All right. It keeps telling me that he's in here, but I am not hearing him and I'm not seeing him. So we're just talking about shedding. Okay, like a snake loses its skin. If you saw my little promo on my YouTube or Facebook, it was a grasshopper losing its skin. It's just like a butterfly. You know, when they go through their process of a caterpillar becoming a butterfly, they do not come out with the same skin. They have to go through the chrysalis and go through molten and go through everything that they're going through in order for them to become that beautiful butterfly. All right. So it's just the same thing. We have to be okay with leaving things behind when we're shedding. We have to be okay with going from one season to the next when we're shedding. I could hear Jonathan. I don't know if he can hear me.
Yep, I can hear you. Thank you. Sorry about
Awesome.
that.
Awesome. Thank you for joining. I had some technical difficulties. I couldn't
I
hear
was
you. My mic was working, but thank you for joining. Hope all is well with you.
definitely, definitely. Thank you.
Awesome. You want to jump in the conversation? What are your thoughts on shedding? Leaving things
Yeah,
behind when you go from season to season.
shedding is definitely, I want to say, a good thing. I think the only time shedding can be a tough thing is when, I'm gonna say it two ways. The first way is when you're doing it to intentionally hurt someone. That's one way. And the second way is doing it when you're following a higher guidance, right? So sometimes
Mm-hmm.
you'd be like, oh, you just, the word ghosting. People say, oh, I just ghost that person just because, and you make a game of it. Or sometimes you do it because you're following, hey, you pray about something or you fast about something, and whatever comes out of that may not be what everybody else wants. But for you, you're following a higher power, higher guidance, and you're saying, hey, look, I don't want to do this, but I'm following a different guidance, so I got to do it anyway, right? So, and I think I'm stealing somebody else's word. Pastor T. Jatiah says, sometimes when God moves you, somebody's going to get left behind and somebody's going to get hurt,
All the
right? So that's
time.
the part, that's the hardest part about shedding. It's funny you picked this topic because, I got a few friends of mine that are going through the same thing. Not one, but a few people that are
Right.
going through the thing of shedding. They're like, JD, not to put my business out there, but you've been through this several times. How do you do it? I said, man, sometimes I did it on my own. Sometimes I prayed about it, but it was easier for me every time I prayed about it. So I don't want to, that, but that's my thing. So shedding is definitely, sometimes it's necessary to actually shed it. So I'll leave that part there till you come back to it.
Yeah. Shedding is absolutely, it's very necessary to shed. And just like you said, one of the hardest things is when you know that you have to shed and you have to leave people behind. It's the old cliche that people say, it's a blessing and a curse, right?
Yep.
Sometimes you have to shed to better yourself. Here's something that some people don't realize. Sometimes, and let me say this the right way, sometimes you have to be the person that starts shedding in order to help somebody else. Because people can
Definitely.
form attachments that
Yes.
keep them stagnant and they don't want to move on because they're so attached to what you have going on, or they're
Indeed.
so attached to the comfortability of where they are with you
Yep.
or with whatever situation they're in, that
True.
sometimes you're like, you know what? I know for a fact this person will not see what I'm trying to get them to see or what I'm helping them where I'm trying to
So
help them go unless I shed myself of them. And
definitely.
that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And I've been on the opposite end too. I've had a few, I'll say, relationships that I've been in where I was the one that was shedded. And in the time of it, I was like, man, why? I'm going through this. I'm doing this for this person. I'm doing that. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. But yet this person is saying, oh no, this is not for me or not for us. But
Right.
what that helped me see is that, again, everyone has a reason or a season, right? And going back to spiritual again, God always have a plan. You might not understand what He's doing, but if you just have faith and trust in Him, hey, somebody says, hey, look, it was fun again. It was fun while it lasted, but I got to move on to something else. Nothing against you. This is just me, right? So that person might, it might hurt them. They might feel like you're doing the wrong thing. They may not understand it, but it might sound, I don't know what the term to use for this one, but I'd be like, just pray about it. Honestly, even though I was the one being shedded, I had to turn back and pray and be like, Lord, I don't understand why this is happening. I did everything I could do for this person, but now I'm being shedded. Until I had to be the person to do the exact same thing, then I understood. I didn't see it then, but now I can see all the benefits of me not staying with that person or being shedded as a person. And sometimes it's not
Right.
even, sorry for taking, let me know if I'm going too on. And sometimes it's not even a person. It could be a place, it could be a
Mm.
thing, it could
Yep.
be a location, like you said, like somewhere you're not supposed to be. So like, hey, look, you know what? I just don't want to go to that place again. When I go there,
Right.
nothing positive comes out of it. So that's a part of my life I'm going to shed. I'm going to move away from that lifestyle. So
Right.
if you look at something in a positive manner, which I try to do in every situation, because again, I go back to all things work for God's good. If you look at everything in a positive light, you may not get it in that moment. If I'm going too long, being too long-winded, you may not get it in that moment, but maybe 1, 2, not so much days, maybe 1, 2 years later, you'll be like, you know what? I know why I went through that. I get it, Lord. I see what you're doing here. So it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes you got to embrace it, whether you're the one doing the shedding or somebody's shedding you or something is rejecting you. Sometimes you just got to roll with it.
Yeah, that's what's up. Krista say 100. She is agreeing with you 1,000, 100%, but that's like 1,000%. But it's interesting that you talk about having to shed different locations or places, right? Because one of the topics that
Yes.
I wanted to bring up in this is that sometimes you have to shed yourself of your bad habits. Sometimes you have to
Definitely.
shed yourselves of your perspectives. A lot of people don't like to have a mind shift. When I work a lot of times we talk about having a growth mindset and having a fixed mindset, right? And a lot of people have a fixed mindset because it's comfortability, but a lot of people with a growth mindset or a fixed mindset don't understand each other, vice versa. So it's a matter of different perspectives, right? People also have to shed themselves of all kinds of relationships. You know what I'm saying? Friendships, toxic relationships, casual relationships, online relationships, open relationships, sexual relationships, whatever kind of relationships that people are going through. sometimes they don't understand
Yeah,
that the shedding from any of those relationships are so necessary, right?
yeah.
I was listening to something this
Gotta throw
morning.
this one in there.
You got to say something.
Oh, no, I was saying you got to throw in social media ship because it's people who have relationships on social media and it's not positive.
Oh, for sure, for
So that's
sure. And I
that's one of the
mean,
ones. That's a new thing.
go ahead, sir.
No, I'm saying it's just something people got to think about because um, what to say? I forgot what the guy name is. Like, you do it for the likes. You do
Yeah,
things
yeah,
so
yeah.
much that when you're doing it for the likes, you're doing it for the posting, you're doing it for whatever, not realizing that you're substituting a personal relationship for a social media ship. So the person who's there with you is suffering from your lack of attention to them because you're always on social media. So,
Right.
like I said, even though this is the digital age that we're in, kids do it. Some kids don't know how to hold a conversation past 10 seconds, right? So, but that's what I just want to throw that in there. People got to look at
Yeah.
that too. Keep that
I
in
mean, and
mind.
that's a big
Social media
thing.
is also something like that.
That's a big thing. We get into that age where we could call ourselves like we old school. You know what I'm saying? We like to
Yeah,
communicate. I mean, I like to communicate. I like to speak to people, right? I'm a person that would much rather talk to you than text you. I'm not saying I won't text. I'm just saying when you resort to always wanting to have every conversation by a text message, we all know that the lines get blurred. You know what I'm saying? The words that you say get misconstrued. So, yes, you need to shed yourself of social media ships. But while you're shedding, like we were saying a little bit earlier, and you're moving on into a new season, right? I sent a clip out earlier to my family and to some of my friends, right? And pretty much um, PMJ, Pastor Mike, whatever his last name is. He pretty much was saying, and I didn't even realize that I wanted to talk about this topic today, shedding, which takes me back to something that he said, and he's always like, I'm going to say, when you're shedding and you're moving into your new season, a lot of people can't accept you in a new season that you're in because they're so focused on wanting to see you for the old person that you were. And that is hard for a lot of people to be in. It's also hard for a lot of people to embrace the new season that they're in. When you shed, if you are a person that was used to being in a toxic relationship, when you finally shed yourself of that toxicity, you feel so uncomfortable in the new space that you're in. And it takes a lot of, and like, it's mentally taxing for some people to accept where they're at when you go from, I'm not doing as bad as I was before, and I'm really doing good. And you can see that you're doing good, but it's so hard for you to hold on to because you're so used to that dead skin, that weight, that thing that just keeps holding you down. So that's also, while we're talking about shedding, and you say, yes, shedding can be a blessing and a curse. Yeah. For people that are in that space where I'm shedding and I know that I'm doing something new, but I just still don't feel good about it. I don't feel comfortable about it because I can't get away from that old thing that I was doing. It's like, alcoholics, drug addicts, those are the people that lead a lot of encouragement when they're shedding. Let me read one of the comments. Tony said, Tori, some are so used to the toxicity that they reject people that really love and care genuinely. Yes, ma'am.
yeah,
Yes, ma'am. That is a thing. And I can also say that some people are so used to being loved the wrong way, exactly what you said, that when they are being loved the right way, and I'm not saying it's perfect love, I'm saying being loved better than what you're used to. And I'm not talking about coming from another relationship. I'm talking about coming from maybe the way that you were brought up and you grew up in a hostile environment, that you finally meet somebody that wants to love you and is showing you that they can love you in a better way. And all the things that you've been through is not necessary for you to live a good life. That's a hard place to be when you're looking at somebody that needs to shed. And yes, you don't always know what's best for everybody else, but you can see when there are people that need to shed themselves of the past, shed themselves of the trauma. And don't get my words mixed up. I'm not saying this is easy. I'm not taking trauma lightly. I'm just saying people that are having a very hard time shedding themselves from trauma, even though they no longer live in that trauma and their lives are 1,000 times better. So when you're shedding, like JD was saying earlier, you still need to have some kind of empathy for the people that need some shedding for them to appreciate the life that they're living. So shedding is a big thing. Shedding is a big deal. Okay, I was just seeing, looks like JD was popping back on, but he's still in there. So as I was saying earlier, like when you're shedding, you also got to shed yourself of those bad habits. You know what I'm saying? Don't throw stones in a glass house, just like they say. Yeah, we're talking about shedding, but we're not talking about shedding as if we're perfect. Because we all have some things about ourselves that we can honestly let go of for us to do better. But sometimes you're in a space where you think, I drive a nice car, I live in a nice house, I got a decent job. But you ain't really happy in your life and you're not comfortable in your life because there is something that is holding you back. I'm not saying you're going to be able to pinpoint and put your finger on it, but you also don't want to do the work. And that work is the shedding that will get you to enjoy your life. Yes, when we leave this earth, we're not going to be able to take things with us, but the things are placed there for us to enjoy it. And if you're not going to do the work and shed for yourself to enjoy it, it's going to be a long, hard life. So Jamie says, shedding is important because how you're feeling within is what kind of people you will attract. Snap, snap, snap. Snap on that. Snap on that. It is interesting that I attend a class every Sunday night, and we talk about this all the time. What you're used to and what you've been through are what you're going to be attracted to, right? Okay, if you grew up in a household, and I'm not saying it's every time, but a lot of times if you grew up in a household where there's alcoholism and you're used to people yelling and cursing and fighting, a lot of times women and even men find themselves in the same type of abusive relationships. And it takes something, I hate to say it, sometimes it takes something horrible to happen for you to really shed that part and that trauma, like I said, that you grew up with. Sometimes it takes you 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Like, people have been in several marriages and they're attracted to the same kind of toxicity. Respectfully, it's toxicity to me because it's not what I've been through, and I could look at it from that way. Yes, Krista, exactly. You got to break the cycle. And it's not easy to break these cycles. So understand, while I'm talking about shedding, I am on here encouraging you to look within. If you're a person that feels like you're doing the right things and you feel like you're not moving on an upward trajectory, I'm not judging where you're at. I am encouraging you to shed. Take a deeper look within yourself. Listen to the positivity that's going on around you. And don't take everything that you hear as a means for you to be defensive. One of the hardest things about growth is being able to accept constructive criticism. It's very, very hard. All right. So I know I'm at work. I'm the lead on my special education team. And I tell the rest of my team all the time, you can say whatever it is you want to say to me respectfully. Will my feelings be hurt sometimes? Absolutely. But if I'm going to be in the leadership position, I have to be able to hear things that are hard and then sit on it, sip on it, and then decide how I'm going to respond. Because I can't and I should not always respond with aggression. Even if somebody's coming at me with aggression or somebody's coming to me about something I said or did that they didn't like, I still need to hear them out and I still need to respond based on being in this leadership position. I'm not going to say I will allow myself to be disrespected. I am saying there are certain things that I have to deal with when you are in a position of being in leadership, and you got to shed some of those old ways of wanting to pop off, 18, 19, 20, 21, and even 46, 47. Some people still popping off. I'm just saying, I ain't pointing no fingers, but I'm just saying, so you take your time to do what you need to do, because I'm sure enough taking my time to make sure that I'm shedding myself of habits that can put you in a position where people do not want to communicate with you, or people don't want to be around you. Okay, so shedding, yes. When you shed, you are breaking a cycle. When you shed, you are shifting your perspective. When you shed, you are breaking a lot of bad habits. All right, and we already talk about needing to shed yourself of habits or people or things that you're using to fill a void. A lot of us know about that. There are things that we use to fill a void. When we're on the verge of wanting to lose weight, it's not called shedding pounds for a reason. If you think about it, it's not called shedding pounds for a reason, because there is something that you need to dispose of, right? That is putting you in an unhealthy situation, or putting you in an unhealthy weight status, or putting you in an unhealthy frame of mind. Okay? So there's a reason that you shed things. You got to discard of it. You got to dispose of it. If you want things to work, a lot of shedding has to take place. All right? So I don't know. I guess I don't know where JD was. I know he was driving, but I don't hear him. So I'm just going to talk until he wants to jump in, and he can jump in. But, like any changes that we go through, one of the hardest things is taking the first step. And then once you take that first step, sometimes it's so very hard to stay committed. Very hard to stay committed, right? I can speak for a lot of teachers that's out there. A lot of teachers. Because in this day and age, there are so many, and it feels like almost all, but it's not all. There's a lot that feels like almost all students that are just so disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? They do not know what it means to have an ounce of respect for not only authority, but adult figures. And these are the places where you really get to trust the process and shed yourself of a means to react and a means to respond. Because nobody, as an adult, wants to sit and have an argument with a young child. Not at all. Even a teenager. It ain't even working. Okay. JD said he's backstage. He's having difficulties. I'm going to try to add him one more time. Okay.
All right. There we go.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Sorry. No,
It's all good, man. All good. Yeah. So, it's just something like I think about when I talk about students. Okay. So what really pushed me to having this conversation tonight is one, JD, can you mute your mic when you're not talking? Appreciate it.
Got you. Sorry about that.
All right. So when you look, right, like I say this, and you're gonna hear me say this all the time because this is the life I live. I work with students with emotional disabilities. So I am constantly on a roller coaster ride with however many students are in my class. I am one person, but they are X amount of students, and I have to take that roller coaster ride with them every single time they decide that their behavior or mental state shifts up and down. So I was having a very simple exchange of messages with a parent, and the parent was having empathy, and they're like, Dr. Delise, I know what you're dealing with. I know that you are having a difficult time with students, whatever. And in that moment, while I'm getting ready to respond back to her, everything in me could not respond and say, you're absolutely right. Immediately, what came to my mind was, that student is just shedding. They're shedding. Like, these kids get in my class for a reason. And there's no way in the world that I'm going to expect that you're just going to come into my class and change your perspective and change your behavior at the snap of a finger. There is a lot of shedding that takes place repeatedly. Some shedding takes place all year long. And I say it's shedding because I always believe that on the other side of that shedding is positivity. This student is always going to get to a place where they understand who they are. Jonathan, chime in.
Yes. So my thing, I'm glad you said that. And it was an old employee, but we still had a recent conversation of adjusting and shedding, like you're saying, going from one job to another. And her biggest thing was, just like you said, people giving you input and not knowing how to take that input. So when you talked about shedding yourself, it's like self-awareness, right? You got to know what to shed, what not to shed. But on the level of dealing with other adults, you have to shed that person, this is going to sound crazy, you have to shed that person is an adult, and sometimes look at that person with a child's mindset, because even as adults,
Facts.
we have very childish ways and childish demeanors because we don't want to hear what another person is saying. So we
Right.
have to shed that child in us and look at the adult in ourselves and say, okay, look, I don't like what this person's saying. Let me shed being defensive, shed being, shutting them out, or shed looking for that instant to jump in and actually listen. So when you said earlier, sometimes we got to shed our own bad habits. Sometimes we got to shed our childish ways. Because
For sure.
sometimes, like I've had recent many conversations where I was speaking to a person and they heard absolutely nothing I said for
Right.
40 something minutes, only because they were thinking of a way to respond to what I was saying, not hearing what I'm saying. Right. So,
Absolutely.
and I've been through, like I say, even with dealing with PTSD, I've been through numerous counselors because I've dealt with a lot of counselors who don't understand what people with that syndrome or the people with that disability deals with. So a
Uh-huh.
lot of times I have to sit there and again say, okay, this person doesn't understand me. Let me just be quiet, let them speak their piece, and then I'll leave it at that. I'll take the good for the good, take the bad for the bad. Right. So I was saying all that to say this. Sometimes it kind of triggered when you said dealing with children. Sometimes you got to realize, even though an adult is an adult, they may not be an adult.
For sure.
Right.
For sure.
So we got to realize, okay, so us internally have to like shed our mindset of, I'm talking to an adult. You have to look at it, I'm talking to a person who doesn't understand my point of view.
Right.
And
Right.
that's how I think we should deal with it. So it's just when you said it just now dealing with a child, that kind of stepped into place in my mind because I just told another adult that, hey, sometimes you got to look at an adult like children, because just
Yeah.
because you may be 22, 23, 24, you're technically not a child, but you may have childish ways, or that person may
Yes.
have childish ways. So you gotta shed that person's an adult and like, hey, look, this person just don't get it. They may, be have an infant mindset, but whatever the case may be. But that just, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it just came to my mind when you said that just now, dealing with
No,
children.
no, no interruption. I mean, just because you're an adult, it does, like you just said, just because you're an adult, it doesn't mean you have an adult mindset, right? Like I said, I listen to a whole lot of other things, and I heard somebody said that marriage is the playground for past childhood traumas. Well, that's like adulthood for me too, because at the end of the day, we are all going to grow into being adults in body, but it doesn't mean that mentally you've shed yourself of your childish ways. So, yes, adulthood is also the playground for childhood traumas. Or, like Jamie said, or it's a childhood trauma response, and that is one of it's so interesting that you make that comment about a childhood trauma response, right? Imagine not ever being able to put yourself in the position mentally, or opening yourself to hearing advice, sound advice of how to shed yourself of past trauma, and you are responding to all of this in your adulthood. And you expect someone to respect you as an adult. Therein lies a whole lot of how hard it is to deal with adults that do not want to shed. I'm not talking about adults that cannot shed. I'm talking adults that do not want to shed, because this is me. This is just the way I am. Either you like it or you don't like it. You know what I'm saying? And that kind of mindset keeps you in a place where those are the people that you sometimes have to shed yourself of, because depending on the people that you keep around you, you can somewhat start developing the like-mindedness. And we've all seen it. And once you develop that like-mindedness, you're also going to get into the place of where you deny that you are thinking and acting like your surrounding. You're thinking and acting like your environment. So like I said in the beginning, you have to be strong enough and you have to have that will to know that I love this person, or I really like being around this person, but I got to shed myself of this mentality, because this mentality is really keeping me hostage, and it's keeping me hostage from my future. Understand what I'm saying? And sometimes I can speak from experience. You do not realize how much you needed to shed until you are forced to be out of a certain situation. If you know me, follow me. Okay.
Yep.
You do not know how much you need to shed until you are forced. And let me reword it a little bit differently. Until you are forced out of a situation that seemed painful, but Lord have mercy. When you shed and you understand your shedding and you embrace the future that is beyond your shedding, it's a beautiful thing.
Yep.
Speak on it.
Yep. So that's a great point, because sometimes when a person when you're the person being shedded, sometimes it's more for you than the other person. Like I said,
Yeah.
God works in mysterious ways. You may
Yeah.
feel like you don't get it. Why is me? I did everything for this person, yada yada XYZ. But in reality, it's for your growth more than it is for the other person's growth. So
Absolutely.
I kind of have a saying from a very old friend of mine that always says, "It is what it is." Right?
Mm-hmm.
Never force
Mm-hmm.
a person to be in your life, and never be forced to be in a person's life. Because
Right.
if you're forcing it, that means you're in a situation where you shouldn't be. That's number
Right.
one, right? And if you're forcing it, that means somebody at some point is going to get hurt, because one of the other person is going to realize you don't need to be there. By then, you're too emotionally attached, financially attached, physically attached, to the point where when that person sheds you or you shed them, it's then like, okay, what do I do now? Right? It
Right.
puts you put yourself or put that other person in a compromising situation. So sometimes if you're being shedded or you're shedding someone, stick to it. I would say stick to it and follow through.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because like even like let's not get super personal, but you can not shed a person and lead a person on. That person be hanging off on your coattail, right? So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when you shed a person, you may have to do it in stages. You may have to like, okay, stop talking as much, stop texting as much, and eventually remove yourself from that person. Or sometimes, depending how bad it is, you may have to just cold turkey be like, oh, not answering, not calling, not talking.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes
Right.
that actually gets the point across a lot better than talking for 45, 30, 60 hours and you're not being heard. So I won't
Right.
say there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. You have to like kind of look at your situation and see the best way to do it. So not everybody can do it the exact same way, but you got to look at your surroundings, look at your personal situation, and realize what's best for you, the best way for you to actually go through that whole shedding process.
But you can also go beyond. I won't say there's a right way and I won't say there's a wrong way, but I can probably go a little bit further and say there's the right people. You understand
True.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, true, definitely.
And that's just something that I had to learn along the way, right? No matter how much you want to see somebody else shed something that you may think is good for them, there is something that you're going to learn about yourself while you're trying to get them to shed, or you're waiting for them to shed, which you should not. You are also learning something for yourself. So behind there's a right way and a wrong way, there's also the right person. Because the right person, follow me when I say this, the right person will allow you to shed as necessary, and you will allow them to shed as necessary. But in that same token, you're not shedding yourselves of each other. And that's just where respect, honesty, integrity, and truth comes into place. Okay. I can understand when you tell me there are things that I need to shed. You understand when I tell you there are things that I would like to see you shed. And then from there, we are growing through shedding, but yet not shedding ourselves of each other. So when I talk about toxicity, you also got to look at it, the blessing and the curse. There's a positivity to shedding with the right person. There's a positivity to shedding in the right environment. There's a positivity to shedding in the right situation. Okay. Jamie said, no, you can't want something for someone more than they want for themselves. Preach, and that'll preach. That'll preach, preach, preach all day. Yes, you are right. Listen, one of the hardest things that I had to learn is you will never, and I'm going to say never, you will never see the end of a person that you try to love or be with based on you seeing their potential that they didn't even see in themselves. You can see the potential someone has, and if they cannot see it for themselves, you are, I'm not going to ever say you wasted your time, because there are lessons in everything, but you are the person that's going to have to shed, because you're the person that's going to have to deal with the pain, okay, of being shedded. All right. So understand that you can't want something for somebody that they don't want for themselves. If you want it more, you're barking up the wrong tree, and you're the person that's going to end up being hurt.
Definitely. Definitely. Let me tell you a funny story about that. I had just my homeboy. He's like a brother to me, I promise. Like he's just as much blood as my blood brother, right? He said, different mother, same brother. So this guy, he
Yeah.
always said that. He said, JD, you gotta stop. I said, man, stop what? He's like, stop helping people based on their potential. Not
Yeah.
everybody you have to help. You can't help everybody. You can't
Can't.
meet a person like, you know what, this person would do great at this, and you coach and you coach and you coach and you coach, and no matter how much you coach, you end up getting and not far behind, but set back because you're trying now to coach because you're seeing that person's potential.
For
Some
sure.
people are worth it. Some people are worth coaching, yes, but you got to see it. But don't find a person with absolutely no potential whatsoever, but because you kind of like that person, you build that person up to more than what they are. Now you're hurting yourself, right? Those are the people you shed.
Yeah.
You apply your 3 stages of coaching. If they don't make it past stage 1, don't force them into stage 2.
Right.
Right? If they can't touch stage 2, oh yeah, they made it from 1 to 2, and they're stuck in 2 way past your timeline, don't keep them and say, hey, look, all right, let's just keep pushing until you make it to 3. No, because you're gonna burn yourself out. Like
Yeah.
I had at least 2 friends who made it past the 1,000 year to the millionaire status and said the same thing. Not everybody can go on your journey with you. Some
Not
people are
everybody.
anchors. Some people are anchors. They
Yes.
will
What's up,
not allow
Delvin?
you to grow.
It's my boy Cricket on the line. What's up?
So I,
Yeah. I mean, you absolutely right, man. Like trying to do anything based on potential besides your own, because most of the time you're going to end up barking up the wrong tree, and you're going to be shedded, and you might just be shredded, and you're going to have to pick up the pieces to get yourself back together for you to move to that next season of your life. All right. So, yes, shedding is necessary, shedding is important. Don't be afraid to shed, even if it means leaving someone, something, someplace behind. Right. But listen to what I'm going to say. Don't allow somebody to force you to shed because they got you in a mindset where you feel like you're not good enough. And I say that from different conversations that I have. And I got to backtrack and say, you trust the process of shedding for yourself, not because you were forced in that position, because you feel like you're not enough because of whatever the situation may be, because of a job you were fired from, or a person that left, or your family turned your back on you. All right. You have to understand that when you're ready to shed, you are ready to shed. And there's nothing, I can tell you, there is nothing that is going to stop you from shedding when you are ready to shed. There is no one that's going to stop you from shedding when you are ready to shed. There is no place. I'm trying to tell you, there is nothing on earth when you get a mindset that I'm ready to leave this season and I'm ready to move on to the next season of my life. No matter how hard you try to stay stuck, that mind shift that you get is going to make you shed because you're going to be so uncomfortable forcing yourself to stay in that past situation.
Correct.
Trust yourself. Like, trust yourself so deeply that you got to stop and look at yourself in the mirror and be like, you really doing this? Are you really doing this? And it's going to feel good. Been there, done that. Everybody know, if you meet me, if you know me, I love the skin I'm in. And I had to go through the process of shedding. So I'm not speaking just to be talking. I'm talking because I've been there. This ain't just, I want to bump my gums and be like, hey, I want to come on here and talk.
Yeah.
Listen, the shedding that I had to do for myself makes me understand that, and I'll say this respectfully, but not arrogantly, I'm a boss, point blank, period. Because the shedding that I had to do to get in the skin that I'm in and love this life that I live and realize that you are enough no matter, and this shedding was good, and this shedding was for my purpose. The way your heart feels, Lord have mercy. It make you want to wake up every day and do this thing repeatedly.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So if you on here, just shed. You
Yep.
know, you feel like there's another level of life that you need to get to, more than likely you do. And you're probably the person that's stopping you. Yes, we have different financial situations. Yes, we have different family situations. Yes, we have different living situations. All right. But I'm going to steal what somebody else said, and I wish I could remember his name. The word is not impossible. The word is really capital I apostrophe M space I'm possible.
Correct.
I'm possible. It ain't impossible. I'm possible. Okay. Take that with you. Take it with you. It's yours to keep. Build yourself, empower yourself. And while you empower yourself, you empower somebody else. But you got to make sure you're taking care of you. JD, what you got to say?
All right. Two things. I got to jump into a different call again. Number one, if you're unsure, this is just my own personal advice to anybody who's listening. If you're unsure, again, I always got to revert back to the Bible because that always works for me when I do it. Wise men seek counsel. If you're unsure, find a counselor. If you choose a friend, choose a wise friend because you got some friends you probably shed it. Though you don't want to go to a friend that you're trying to shed, right? But find a person who you know has your best interests and will give you sound advice, spiritual advice, or advice that's to better you. Not a biased advice, but a better advice. So definitely, I would say that find a counselor, number one, and number two, pray about it. That's my biggest thing. That's my two ways that I can't speak for everybody else on here, but the two things I've done that anytime I've done it, I've moved in a positive light and it worked for me in a positive way, right? Because you
Absolutely.
figure if you go to a counselor, your counselor has nothing to lose. If it
Right.
works for you, it works. They come back. If it doesn't work for you, then guess what? You're gonna go back anyway, right? So therefore, find a counselor or seek a wise counselor or go to God in prayer, whatever it is you want to call it. But Those are the two things I would say. So I do apologize. I do have to jump off. I got another call to hop onto.
You're good.
So
I appreciate you.
I
I
thank
love
you
you,
for
man.
having me. God bless everybody. I have a good one. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right. I'm gonna keep you in my ear
So,
though. I'm keep on listening. I just gotta
all
talk
right,
to
you
the other
good.
one.
You good.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate you. So yes, so as he said, seek wise counsel. But I gotta put in a plug. Get yourself a good life coach if you want. We ain't that expensive. All right, plug. Always got a plug. All right, but on a serious note, I appreciate y'all rocking with me tonight. I appreciate y'all rocking with me not every Tuesday, but the Tuesday that I jump on there and send out a text or send out a message. All right, but shedding is not a bad thing. All right. It's for you. It's for your own good. It's going to elevate you. You're never too old to shed, and I can say as a person that's a teacher and I teach kids with emotional disabilities, I teach my kids how to shed all the time. I give them strategies. I give them tools, and I am literally teaching them how to shed. And I give them strategies and tools that they can use at home and hopefully also share it with their siblings or their families, and they can see a positivity in them. All right. So shedding is for you. Shedding is not, it doesn't have to be painful. Ha. Thank you, Krista. I appreciate you. I do my best to help kids shred for sure. All right. But, trust yourself, trust your gut, trust your instincts. Don't be afraid to shed. Don't be afraid to leave toxicity behind. Everybody ain't for everybody. And that person that's there, that in the back of your mind that you're like, I should do, I should go, I should stay, I should go. If you're in that space and you're like, should I stay, should I go? I can tell you more than likely you need to go. From past experience, more than likely you need to go. And it's hard to go. Let's just be honest, because it's a comfortability. So I can speak on this because I've been through that place of being stagnant because it was comfortable, right? And I was forced to shred. I did have to shred, but I was also forced to shed myself. Okay. And let me be a living testimony for you that shedding is so invigorating. That's the only word I could think of. Shedding is so invigorating once you embrace it. I like to always tell people, feel your feels. Whatever you feeling, feel it, because you're not always going to be stuck in that feeling. All right. Before I go, if you have, well, you always have something to do, but if you're up to it on a Sunday night, this Sunday coming, I am going to be streaming live. I don't know what time, but there is a play where I live, downtown Charleston, and I am going to be interviewing the cast of this play called Covenant. It is part of the Moja Arts Festival. So I'm streaming live on Sunday. I will be interviewing the cast, not really giving any tidbits because it's going to be a good play. I saw a little preview of it last week or earlier this week, and it's going to be a great play. It's going to make you think, and it's going to touch on a whole lot of stuff in you. But if you're around the area, try to look at it. It's October 2nd. It's opening night. It's going to be called Covenant. And if you're interested in plays or they excite you, I'm going to be interviewing the cast of Covenant on Sunday. I will let you know the time, but I'll be streaming live then too. All right, so catch it. I'll also have a promo out for them. Once I do the video, there's going to be a promo coming out for them through The Fifth podcast. So don't be ashamed to shed, JD. Sometimes you have to get uncomfortable to be comfortable. And that's the word. Thank you, Jamie. So on that note, remember, I got to shed for my future. You have to shed for your future, and seek wise counsel so you can shed with someone that appreciates shedding right along with you, and your future is possible. The possibilities are endless. Remember, it's not impossible. I'm possible. All right. I love y'all. God bless you. Good night. And as always, thanks for rocking with your girl. Take care, y'all.